Hello, writers and readers and nerds in general. I am here today to talk to you a little bit about tone and how you as a writer can influence the tone of your writing and your novels. So, step one, you're going to look for anything that, specifically, any words that elicit a certain emotion, right? You're looking for things like, specifically in your descriptions, you're looking for words that set the emotions of your characters, but again, you're looking at the words that show the emotions of your characters, not the ones that are telling them. So you're not looking for he was angry, you're looking for he raged as he pounded across the room, right? Or as he stomped across the room and slammed the door, she knew she was in trouble. Something like that, right? Those words have to be consistent throughout the scene. And here's why. Because if at one point we have a character stomping across the room and slamming the door, and then in the same page or even the same paragraph, or regardless, in the same set of time that is so close together that it doesn't flow anymore, we have, and she looked into his room, she pushed the door open a creak, and she saw him laying serenely on the bed. That doesn't fit the tone, okay? So right now we're looking for things that would be more accidental, right? If you're anything like me, as a discovery writer, I find that I constantly am just going with whatever comes into mind. And then as I'm rewriting later, I'm like, wow, this doesn't fit. This isn't the right word. It's not the right vibe. Essentially, all you're doing when you're looking for tone is vibe checking your words. What vibe do they give off? Are they giving the right vibe? If your character, for example, is scared of this creature, let's call it a dog, right? Let's say that your character is scared of the dog. It doesn't matter if the dog is not actually dangerous. Your character doesn't know that, and your character wouldn't think that it wouldn't be. Your character's instinct is to think, wow, I'm in danger. I need to get a move on, right? And so, when you're writing that dog from that character's point of view, if the dog lies down, you're going to say that the dog crouched. If the dog is panting because they're hot or tired or whatever reason that the dog would be panting, you're going to say instead that they were salivating. And so you could see their teeth. Because the character influences exactly how you write that scene. And that gives us, as readers, both deeper insight into how that character feels about the world and everything in it, but it also gives us a little bit more insight into what exactly that character is expecting from that dog. Because the dog never has to do anything for your character to have these very justifiable emotions. None of it has to be specific to that particular dog, and it might not even be specific to the scenario. So probably what you'll have to do is you'll have to go through and say, here's what is actually happening, and also, in your actual draft, say, here's how my character interpreted it. Because as long as your character is interpreting it in the same flow as you expected and as you intended, no matter what words you use, those words have to fit with your character's experience, right? So again, with the example I used earlier of he stomped across the room and slammed the door, those are both angry words. They have an angry feel and an angry connotation to them, and so that tells you, wow, that man is angry. And it also tells you, it justifies the feeling of fear that possibly the woman in the scenario has. Side note, I write suspense novels, so this is a normal type of scenario for me to be writing about. It might not be so normal in yours. But keep that in mind if you're talking about your characters and you're writing a romance and one of them is stomping out and you don't want them to sound angry. Maybe you can say marched, or I just thought of the word flounced, and that's not quite the right word either, but flounced or flourished are extremely emotive words, not in that they promote emotions themselves, as in they have emotions, but they bring about certain emotions or different connotations, and that is how you control the tone. So, the sentence, he walked across the room and closed the door, is very different than he stomped across the room and slammed the door, and all we're doing is changing those two words. Even, he stomped across the room and closed the door, still feels angry. Whereas, he walked across the room and slammed the door, suddenly that slammed feels very jarring, and that's not the intention we want. So whatever you start with, you have to follow up with it. And it has to be consistent throughout the entire scene until you're intentionally making a tone shift, right? Because perhaps when your character with the dog finally realizes that it's okay to go over and pet this dog, and their tail thumps, and the character's like, oh, he's not moving, he's not nipping at my hand, he's not lunging at me, he's not trying to bite me or hurt me. Maybe it is okay to pet this dog, right? That's when you can start saying what the dog is actually doing, where he panted, or he rolled over and showed me, or asked for belly rubs, right? Or he licked my fingers. Having a dog lick someone's fingers when they're scared of them definitely gives the impression of, you would want to use the words that suggest that the dog wants to eat them, that they're getting their first taste and they'll come back for more. Whereas having a dog lick someone's fingers when you're like, oh, maybe this dog is safe. That's when you're good to go with any further softening words and softening that tone for the same reason as stomping across the room versus walking across the room. The second you make that shift, as long as you then follow it up with, he licked my fingers and his tail thumped and he whined a little bit, scooting closer, right? Inching closer, maybe even, not even, you get the idea, right? It changes the connotation and the entire feeling just by changing your word choice. I hope this helps you figure out tone in your writing. If you have other questions that you would like me to answer and go into detail a little bit more about, or if you've heard a professional writer or somebody who teaches writing go into different things like this, whether that's tone or pacing or style, I would love to help explain it for you. So if you give me your questions down below, I would love to make a video about them for you. Until next time, I'll see you then. If you liked this video and you want to go see more instructional videos like this, you can go check out this playlist right here. And I would love for you to join me on this journey. I would love to help teach you writing. I would love to help encourage you in your journey. If you want to see my journey, you can follow that playlist right here. Until next time, I'll see you then.